You've had this challenging trade relationship between Canada and the United States for some time, but the Trump administration has marked a new chapter. When you saw the return of President Trump to the White House, almost immediately as president-elect, he announced that he would put 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico over the issue of fentanyl. Canada accounts for 0.5% on average of fentanyl that comes into the US, but it was declared an emergency because that gave President Trump the authority under the International Economic Emergency Powers Act of 1977. Ultimately, that was struck down about a year later by the Supreme Court. But you've had this desire of President Trump to remake the terms of trade internationally. And we saw many countries come to the table and make deals with the United States that were quite one-sided. Japan and Europe, for example, agreed to deals where you would have 15% tariffs for their goods going into the US and nothing for US goods going to their countries. Canada took a very different strategy. Partly that was driven by the fact that goods from March of 2025 that qualified under the Canada-US-Mexico agreement, as they call it in Canada, or USMCA, as it's also commonly known, that they got duty-free treatment into the United States. There were many special categories from steel and aluminum to lumber to automotive where you had separate tariffs that went on top of them. In mid-July, the Trump administration, after having not really had deep conversations with Canada for 9 months or so, announced that it was putting 50% tariffs on roughly 5% of Canada's exports to the US. And this set off a mad process that led to the discussions which ultimately broke down.